sins and our guilt. Yonder on Calvary's mount outpoured, there where the blood of the Lamb was spilled. Grace, grace, infinite grace, grace that will pardon and cleanse within. Grace, grace, infinite grace, grace that is greater than all our sin. Sin and despair like the sea waves cold threaten the soul with infinite loss. Grace that is greater, yes, grace untold, points to the refuge, the mighty cross. Grace, grace, infinite grace, grace that will pardon and cleanse within. Grace, grace, infinite grace, grace that is greater than all our sin. Marvelous, infinite, matchless grace, freely bestowed on all who believe. You that are longing to see His face, will you that moment His grace receive? Marvelous grace, infinite grace, grace that will pardon and cleanse within. Marvelous grace, infinite grace, grace that is greater than all our sin.
Good evening once again. It is good to see y'all. It is halfway through the presentations, over halfway now, and so we're rounding the home stretch here, and we're talking about family tonight. One of my favorite topics, and I guess you'll find out why as we go through. But we're talking about family tonight. One of the first things that I thought when I got married is, why can't this person be normal like me? I don't know if any of you have thought that, but that's the first thing that came. That's the first thing that came to mind, because we're so different. I mean, we come from different families, we come from different backgrounds, we have different likes and different dislikes, and we're different. And one of the difficulties a lot of people face within the marriage or within any relationship is trying to impose their will onto the other person. And so I'm reminded of a story of my friend Joseph. Joseph had just gotten married, super excited, and Joseph and his wife, in that honeymoon stage, everything is going all swell until one morning. Joseph wakes up and his wife isn't next to him, which is normal because she's usually downstairs making breakfast. And she made breakfast for him. He smells it and it's all great. And he goes into the bathroom and he noticed something about the toothpaste. And he notices that there's something wrong with this toothpaste, and he is just really agitated. And so he goes down and tells his wife, with the toothpaste in hand, and says, honey, do you see what this is? Do you see this? And she, in her Christian humility, says, well, it's toothpaste, honey. And Joseph is just, getting more agitated. No. Do you see this toothpaste? You've squeezed it from the middle. And now the toothpaste is all over the place and it's all hard and the toothpaste is all messed up. You shouldn't have squeezed it from the center. You got to squeeze it from where? The bottom, right? You got to squeeze it from the bottom. And he's all livid about this toothpaste. Looking back, I think over the 15 years of marriage now that they've had, arguing over toothpaste is something they might look back and say, was that really something that we should get in a fight over? I mean, they got into this huge fight. It's this huge fight about toothpaste, over toothpaste. Now, let me ask you the question. What's the right way to squeeze toothpaste? Any way you want it, right? Any way you want it. That's the right way. There's no instructions on the bottle of how to do it. Any way that works best for you. That's what I would suggest to you. Others would certainly argue with me on that, and we would get in a large fight as well. But here's the thing. A lot of our family problems and disputes could be resolved or even avoided if we remember the simple principle that others are different, and that's okay. Not everyone is like us, and that is okay. And there are three things I want to share with you tonight regarding the family. And we're looking at building bridges from where we're at to where God wants us to be. And the first bridge that we're going to look at is going from conflict to what? Complement. Going from conflict to complement. If you are married, your spouse is your complement, okay? They are not your carbon copy, all right? We were not put on this earth to be what others want us to be, but rather we were placed on this earth to be what God has called us to be, all right? Who God has created us to be. And there are two types of people in the world. Those who think they know it all, and those who are humble enough to accept the fact that others are different, and that's okay. Go ahead and turn to your neighbor and say, others are different, and that's okay. Go ahead. Romans, listen to what Romans says here. Romans 12:16, it says, live in harmony with each other. Don't be too, what's that word? Proud to enjoy the company of ordinary people. And don't think you know it all. The reality is we're different from other people, and we're generally different in three ways. The first way we're different from people is how we relate to each other. How we relate to each other. All right. Generally, there's a lot of personalities out there, a lot of different personalities, but the two most common are the introvert and the extrovert. Okay. Introverts are kind of those people who prefer to be alone. Okay, they prefer to have a small circle of friends. If you look at emotions as a gas tank, an introvert, if they stay in a social situation for too long, they end up running out of fuel, right? They're the last one at the birthday party, and they're the first one to leave, right? They're the last one to come to church, and as soon as you say amen, they're out the door, right? Introverts tend to like to be alone, right? And an introvert prefers that smaller circle of friends, close friends. An extrovert is a person, all right, that is the complete opposite of an introvert. An extrovert will make a conversation with rocks. I kid you not. An extrovert is just an outgoing person, right? And usually what happens is that you will never see two of the same personality types be married. okay? Usually, you will never see an extrovert with an extrovert or an introvert with an introvert. You know, I very rarely have seen that. You know, my wife, she's the extrovert, okay? And I am the introvert, believe it or not. When I'm on the pulpit and, you know, I'm in church and that kind of situation, I can be, you know, extroverted to an extent, but my heart of hearts, I am an introvert. I'd much rather be at home, in the Bible, with you know, just praying with God and all of those sort of things, than to be in a social situation. My wife, she is the complete opposite of me, right? I mean, I'll go to the grocery store and I will come back in 10 to 15 minutes with groceries, and I'm done. My wife will go to the grocery store, and an hour and a half later, she'll not only come back with groceries, but this crazy story. She's like, well, you won't believe what happened, Jason. I was at this store. I met this lady from Texas. She was down in Texas, and she didn't like the rain, and so her and her husband moved up here, and he's temporarily unemployed, and he's looking for a job, but she does hair, and she does a fantastic job, and so I'm going over to her house this weekend to do my hair, and oh, by the way, the kids are coming with me because she has 3 kids. Her 4th one is in college, and I'm like, my goodness, this was all in like the span of going to the grocery store. My goodness, we're complete opposites in that sense. I'm the introverted one, and introverts, we can be in a car for like 3 hours and not say a word. And everything is good in the universe. Like, everything is fine with that, right? We are absolutely fine with that. An extrovert can be riding in a car, and if they don't say something within 10 minutes, literally, their head will explode. They need to say something, right? And the world is generally divided between the introverts and the extroverts. But my question for you is, who did God create? The introvert or the extrovert? He created both, right? He created both. And so my job is not to make my wife like me. My job isn't to make her my carbon copy or to change her into my personality type, but to enable her and to help her grow into who God created her to be. And her likewise for me, to enable me and to help me to grow into who God created me to be. We're different in the way in which we relate to one another. The second way, we're different in the way that we see life. We're different in the way that we see life. There are differences between us right now. There are some who are spontaneous and some who are systematic. All right? Spontaneous people, they like change, okay? Spontaneous people like change. They change the restaurants they go to. They change the way they drive to work. They change all of the time. You see them Wednesday, and you say, hey, look forward to seeing you at church on Saturday. They say, yep, we'll see you at church on Saturday. And you get to church on Saturday, and that person's not there. You give them a call on the phone, and you say, hey, man, like, what happened to you? You said you were going to be at church on Saturday. Yeah, well, we just decided, to go camping, and, we decided to go camping. Now we're out in the woods and enjoying our time here camping. And you're like, well, when did you decide that? Well, Friday night we decided to go out. That's spontaneous people. They like change, right? If things are too planned out, too rigid, too scheduled, they feel as though they're being suffocated, right? The spontaneous people, all right, they have messy desks, and they are able to find every single thing on that desk. And the systematic person, they're going crazy when they see the desk. They can't find anything and so forth, right? A systematic person is, once again, the complete opposite of a spontaneous person. Systematic people need to have a plan, okay? Their favorite phrase is, what's the plan? My father was very systematic all the time. What's the plan? They need a weekly plan, they need a daily plan, they need an hour plan, they need a minute-by-minute plan, right? They're the ones who have the 5-year plans all laid out. They got charts and graphs and pie charts and all sort of things, right? Because they're very systematic. They like to plan things out. And if you change their routine, If you mess with their plan, they absolutely lose it. They cannot stand it, right? You know, if you tell a systematic person that Sunday you are going to the grocery store, and the systematic person puts it on their calendar, puts it on their plan, right? And then you do not go to the grocery store on Sunday, that systematic person, their head literally will explode, okay? They cannot deal with a change of plans like that. And usually what happens is the systematic people are attracted to spontaneous people, okay? Because spontaneous people are like, man, like, wow, this is, this person is exciting and all of this stuff. The systematic person sees the spontaneous person is like, man, they're just all over the place doing all of this exciting things. And the spontaneous person sees the systematic person like, man, they got a plan. They're all organized and they got things all set up. And the things that drew them together are the things that are causing conflict in the marriage, right? Because now you're changing, the spontaneous person is changing things last minute, and the systematic person is blowing their head gasket, right? Because they can't stand a change in the last minute. And so they're fighting about the things which drew them together in the beginning. But the question for us is, who did God create? The spontaneous or the systematic? He created both, right? And we're different in how we see life. Thirdly, we're different in how we make decisions. Decisions. There are some people who make decisions based on facts, and then there are some people who make decisions based on feelings. All right? Person that makes decisions based on facts usually has some German in their background, like myself. But we make decisions based on facts. When we go to buy a car, we look at the numbers. We want to know what the monthly payment is. We want to know what the interest rate is. We want to know what the down payment is that we're going to have to do. We want the facts of it. Right? A person who makes decisions based on feelings, they see that same car, not as a numbers thing, but they see, oh my goodness, it is the most beautiful car ever. It's red and it has leather seats, and they listen to, oh, it just sounds so quiet and it's so comfortable. Let's get it. It's like $80,000. No, we need to have it. It's the one. It's the making decisions based on feelings, right? And so, the thing is, right, but God created us differently, right? And you can't change other people, right? But you can control yourself. You can change yourself, and it's not your job to change other people. We spend too much energy and time, trying to make an extrovert an introvert, and you're going against the natural order of things. You're going against the way that God created them, to be. And the first thing that we want to do is to go from conflict to complement. My wife is not my carbon copy. My spouse is not my carbon copy. They are my complement. She is my complement. And I'm thankful because, she's different from me. And I embrace those differences. And, if we were the same, there wouldn't be areas in my life that I recognized that I needed to grow, right? And so we're different. And, the differences shouldn't cause drama. They should cause us to grow closer to one another and grow together as a couple. The world would be really boring if everyone was just like you, I would propose. All right? And so we're different. All right? And the second thing we want to go from is from selfishness to selflessness. All right? Selfishness to selflessness. Relationships work best when you have the other person's interests in mind, okay? When you have the other person's best interest in mind and not your own. If you're out, looking, if you're out for yourself, it's not a good place. It's not a good recipe for relationships. I see it all the time. People are getting married and they say, why do you want to get married so badly? Well, it's because I'm lonely. Well, that's kind of a selfish thing to do, to get married because you're lonely. I mean, you think about it, it's all about getting your needs met. It's all about what this person is going to provide for me. And, if you're single and you're here today, the thing is, you need to stop trying to find the right one, and you need to start being the right one. And so we need to be selfless people. This is what the Apostle Paul writes in Romans 12:10. Notice this, Romans 12:10, be devoted to one another in, what's that word? Love. Honor one another above yourselves. My job is to honor. My job is to love. My job is not to change the other person. And I want to share with you a couple quotes with you just about that relate to this. It is well to remember that the entire population of the universe, with one trifling exception, is composed of others. We all know who that one trifling exception is, right? Andrew Holmes wrote that. At the root of every sinful act, every hurtful word, every inappropriate thought lies one common denominator: selfishness. Selfishness. And so, my job is to honor. My job is to love. And, we need to look at how we can bless the other person, how we can lighten their load, how we can make their life better and easier, instead of trying to, it's all about us. It's all about having my needs met. And so it's important to understand, because so many people are getting into relationships that are just, it's all based on getting your needs met. That's why so many people are choosing to kind of cohabitate together, to live together without getting married, right? Or without choosing to have a commitment with one another, because it's all about having my needs met. I don't need to make this commitment. And it's important to understand that, because in 2017, there's an increase with people living together without making that commitment. In fact, millennials, which is basically 33, and younger, that generation, 36% are choosing to get married, all right? Now, that's down from 68% from the silent generation. The silent generation is the one right before the baby boomers. So there's 68% of those people getting married, and only 36% of the millennials are getting married. And it's like, yeah, we like living together, but it's kind of, we just want to just try this out and see if it's going to work. And then, if it doesn't, we can just, kind of move on. It's not that big of a thing. Listen to this from the book, The Ring Makes All the Difference. It says, scientists find that cohabitation, or living together before marriage, cuts down on, what's that word? Commitment. The message of living together is, I'd really like to take just a part of you right now. Maybe sometime later, I take every part of you. The relationship defines itself by a holding back of total commitment. You have to ask yourself the question, has living together outside of marriage made your life more complicated or less complicated? All right? And likewise, I'll just say it, has sex outside of marriage made your life more complicated or less complicated? And so that's the question that you have to ask, yourself. And so if you're single, I just want to enlighten you with 10 principles, I think, that are must-have. 10 biblical principles, 10 biblical things that you want to look for in a spouse, okay? Whoever you marry, all right, they should have these 10 things, all right? So at least in my opinion, the 10 must-haves, all right? So how many people are single here or not married? All right? So these are 10 things. If you're looking for someone, these are 10 things you should look for, all right? Whoever you marry must have been in love with Jesus before they met you, all right? Whoever you've been in love with, whoever you fall in love with, they must be in love with Jesus. I find so many people that, it's only, they kind of fall in love with Jesus, just in order to kind of get married to this person. But I would suggest to you that they have to know the difference between, King Hezekiah and the book of Ezekiel, all right? They need to know the difference there, all right? Whoever you marry must have a good work ethic. Whoever you marry must have a good work ethic. When God created Adam, he gave Adam a job, right? Adam had a job before he met Eve, isn't that right? His job was to, name the animals, tend the garden, and do those sort of do those sort of things. Before God gave him a wife, Adam had a job. Number 3, whoever you marry must not be nursing any uncontrolled anger. Must not be nursing any uncontrolled anger. Anger reveals deep-seated insecurities, right? A person who is angry by nature is an insecure person. I mean, that's kind of how it manifests itself, all right? So they shouldn't be harboring any uncontrolled anger. Whoever you marry must not be stuck in an addiction. Whoever you marry must not be stuck in addiction. And that's an addiction to anything. To food, to alcohol, to drugs, to sex, to pornography, to anything. If you marry somebody who has an addiction to anything, you will never be number one in their lives. All right? The addiction will always take precedent over your relationship. All right? The addiction overpowers any other relationship the person has in their lives, and so they shouldn't have any addiction. Number 5, whoever you marry must not be harboring any bitterness. Must not be harboring any bitterness. Look at what Hebrews chapter 12, verse 15 says. Guard against turning back from the grace of God. Let no one become like a bitter plant that grows up and causes many troubles with its poison. All right? Don't be like the bitter plant. Don't be like this bitter plant that grows and causes all this trouble. Whoever you marry must not be harboring bitterness. A person who is harboring bitterness, they will always be stuck in the past. Okay? They will never be able to move. They will never be able to move forward. Right? They're always stuck on what happened. This person did this to me. This person did that, and it's mentally exhausting to be around people like that at times. And so, don't marry anyone who's harboring any bitterness. Whoever you marry must not be selfish. They must not be selfish. Look at Proverbs 28, verse 25. Selfishness only causes trouble. If you marry somebody who is selfish, you will eventually feel used. Okay, you will eventually feel used and kind of trampled upon. All right. 7, whoever you marry must not be greedy. All right, must not be greedy. All right, must not be greedy. Notice here Proverbs 15, verse 27. Greed brings grief to the whole family. If you marry a greedy spouse, you will be in debt for your entire life. Greedy people are never happy. All right, they have to have, if they have one house, they have to have two. If they have two houses, they need to have the vacation house, and then they need to have the house up, in the woods, in the mountains, and they're always needing something else, right? They have one car, they need two cars. If they have two cars, they need the sports car as well, right? Because possessions, and they're never happy because possessions never satisfy them. And they think that maybe, these possessions will make me happy, but in the end, they keep coming up empty. They keep trying to fill this void that only God can fill. And so a greedy person is never satisfied. They're only after these temporary things, and you find yourself in debt. Number 8, whoever you marry must not be possessive or jealous. They must not be possessive or jealous. And so this is what I have found as a pastor. A person that you're dating who is like, let's just say a 5 out of 10 as a jealous boyfriend will be an 8 out of 10 jealous husband, okay? It never gets better. Right? If they're a little bit of jealous while you're dating, they're going to be even more jealous and controlling when you're married. And the same goes, for the woman. Whatever that, if you have jealousy or a control issue, those things generally are very, less dating and expand as you are married. All right? And so it never gets better. It generally only gets worse. Because when we're dating, we have time apart from the other person. And we can put up a pretty good mask, right? We can put up a pretty good facade, but when we're married and around that person for a long period of time, the kind of masks come off, and the jealousy and the controlling, those things come out and are amplified. All right, notice here what Job 5:2 says. It says, surely resentment destroys the fool, and jealousy kills the simple. Number 9, whoever you marry must tell the truth. Whoever you marry must tell the truth. Notice Proverbs 20, verse 7. A righteous person lives on the basis of his integrity. Righteous person lives on the basis of his integrity. Love is based on trust, and trust is based on truth. And if you don't tell the truth, I can't trust you. And if I can't trust you, how can I love you? Right? There was a person called Leonard Ravenhill. He says this: God always gives his best to those who leave the choice up to him. And so number 10, notice here, leave the choice to God. Leave the choice to God. And so I'll leave it at that. All right? So first we want to go from conflict to complement. Secondly, we want to go from selfish to selflessness. And then the last one, God wants to move us from crisis to Christ. All right? He wants to move us from crisis to Christ. In Matthew chapter 1, there's something really interesting in that chapter. And it's something that we usually skip over because it's just a lot of names and a lot of things. But it's what we call a genealogy, okay? And a genealogy is basically a snapshot, a photograph of Jesus's family. Okay, it's a snapshot of who his family, what his family history is, who his grandfather was, who his great grandfather was, who his parents are, and you think you have some weird people in your family, you think you have some dysfunction in your family history. Well, check out Jesus's family tree here. Tamar. All right, Tamar, who was a part of Jesus's genealogy, part of his family history. Tamar was an example who had issues with her in-laws, okay? She had no luck with marriage. I mean, she married somebody and they would die. She married somebody else and they would die. And I don't know what this woman was putting in the soup, but whatever it was, whoever she married, I mean, they were just done, right? Tamar had this, she had no luck in her marriage, right? And so, you have Rahab. Rahab is a part of Jesus' family. She's a prostitute, right? She's defined by what she does for a living. And what she did for her living wasn't anything that would exemplify God in her life. She had low morals, right? Ruth, also a part of Jesus' family tree. Ruth was an immigrant. She was a widow, and she also had issues with death in the family. Messiah, he was a bloodthirsty king. Jacob, he was a deceiver who deceived his own father, and he was a liar, right? And I don't know if any of us have any liars in our family, right? Maybe some, that one family member who's been in jail, and, it seems that, we all kind of have that crazy uncle in our family that we kind of Photoshop out of pictures. The one with the gold tooth, he's always coming over and making trouble, that kind of guy. Well, even Jesus had a whole bunch of liars in his family, right? He had people that you would probably Photoshop, you would want Photoshopped out of the family photo. And even when Jesus walked this earth, right? Jesus' own family called him crazy. His own brothers called him crazy, right? And, you got to think to yourself, and I wonder even to myself, why did God choose these people to be a part of his family? Why did he choose these people with all their dysfunction, with all of their problems? I mean, he had the pick of the litter. He's God, right? He's in control. He could have perfect people, or at least, better people in his family tree. He could have picked anybody, but yet he chooses these people to be a part of his family. And he picks all of these weirdos. He picks a prostitute. He picks a guy that killed people. He picks a deceiver. Why didn't he just pick people who had it all together? But like I told, like I was alluding to earlier this week, kind of everyone is normal until you get to know them. Isn't that right? Then everyone, you see their faults and their kind of their problems. And here Jesus has a family history that has tremendous dysfunction and problems and sins and failures. And so I think there's a couple reasons why Jesus chose kind of this dysfunctional family history, if you will. And I think there's a couple lessons that we can learn. The first thing is that Jesus' family had issues that you can relate to. I can relate to the problems that Jesus had. I can relate to the problems that Jesus' family had. And when I look at this list of people, I recognize that, you know, there's probably people that have more dysfunctional family than me, but I can also relate to some of those people have problems, right? Some of those people made the same mistakes that I made, and I'm thankful that God put them in the Bible because it helps me to relate, and I can identify with them. And when I think of Jesus' family, and when I think of my own family, and I think of even my church family, I can relate, right? I can relate to, you know, that not everyone is perfect. Right? Not everyone has it all together, whether in my family, whether in my church family. And I hear people all the time, you know, they say, you know, I love Jesus, but I just don't like the church. I just don't like to come to church. That's like telling your wife, I really like your face, but I just hate your body, okay? It just doesn't work out like that, all right? It's just not a good recipe for success. Right? And the concept of loving Jesus and not going to church is not really a biblical one. Right? There are people who won't go to church because they say, man, these people just got a whole bunch of problems. Right? I can't stand the person, you know, next to me. You know, I can't stand the way that they act and the way that they treat other people. And I'll just be straightforward with you tonight. I mean, it's a bit hypocritical if that's kind of the reasoning, because here it is, we want people to be grace-oriented toward us. We want people to forgive us when we make a mistake. We want people to, you know, understand that we don't have it all together. But yet that same grace that they extend toward us, we're unwilling to extend to other people. That same grace that Jesus extends to us, we are unwilling to extend to somebody else. We say, you know, the first thing, you know, my daughter does when she messes up is like, Daddy, oh, I'm so sorry, forgive me, please, you know, forgive me, don't hit me. No, right? Because she wants grace, right? We all want grace when we mess up. But so often, more often than not, we refuse to extend that same grace to somebody else when they've wronged us, right? And so, as I look at Jesus' family, I look at my church family, I look at my immediate family, and I understand, you know, that there are no perfect people. Not in my own family, not in my church family, right? And if you find a church that everyone was perfect, the moment you walked into it, you would ruin it, okay? The moment I walked into it, I would ruin it, because we are not perfect people. Believe it or not, we are not perfect people. But the good news is, you are perfectly loved. Amen? You are perfectly loved by God, but we are not perfect. When I see Jesus' family, I see realness, and I see people that didn't have it all together, but I see people who were loved. I see people who grace was extended to them, but they were loved. They didn't have all the answers, but they were loved. They made mistakes, yet they were loved. And you are invited by God's awesome gift to us to be a part of His family. He invites us to be a part of His family. The church is not perfect. People in the church are not perfect. Basically, we're just one beggar telling another beggar where to find bread. And it's kind of like Noah's Ark, all right? It's kind of like Noah's Ark to a certain extent, right? In the church, there are all kinds of different people. Just like in Noah's Ark, there's a whole bunch of different animals, right? There are some, lions in Noah's Ark, and there are some lions in church, right? You don't want to get too close to, the lion in church, all right? There are some porcupines, that you don't want to go up and you don't want to touch because, it's like, no, don't want that. Then there's some, like panda bears. You just want to be around them. They're so, you just enjoy spending time with them, right? And there are all kinds of people in the church. And I'm not going to tell you that, if you choose to join the church, or if you choose to be a part of this congregation, that it's going to be like all sunshine and rainbows, that you're going to walk in and it's going to be like the streamers and the balloons, and every time you walk in, it's just going to be absolutely great, In fact, you'll probably find, some people who aren't, throwing a party, but rather, they bring the frown, and they bring the harsh words. But the reality is that we all have problems. The reality is that people are not perfect, and you know what? That person who you might not stand, you just can't stand to be around in church. That one person that is just emotionally draining to be around, that person that is just bitter and angry. That person I'm talking about? There's no other place I'd rather have that person be than in church, all right? I mean, because you can think about it. Who needs grace? Who needs the love of Jesus more than that person, right? And so I'm glad that they're here, because they need the love of Jesus. They need to be in a saving relationship with Jesus just as much as the rest of us. So I'm glad they're not over at the bar or down at the Rotary Club or what. I'm glad they're here to receive the transforming power that God offers us. And so we need God, and we need to apply those biblical principles to our lives. And just because people in this church family don't apply the biblical principles, it doesn't mean that they're ineffective. It just simply means that people choose not to apply them. They choose not to apply the Bible to their lives. But don't use that as an excuse to disconnect from church. Don't use that as an excuse to throw in the towel on God's family. God has given you this gift to be a part of this community, to be a part of His family, and that's pretty darn cool. And so it's a pretty kind of, for lack of a better word, lame excuse to throw in the towel because somebody else is imperfect, because we recognize we're all kind of in that boat. And so God loves you. God has patience with you. And so extend that same patience and extend that same grace towards others. And so we recognize that we can relate to Jesus' family. We can relate to their problems. We can relate to their issues. And the second point is Jesus' family had issues that they needed to be redeemed from. Jesus' family had issues that they needed to be redeemed from. There are stories of pain, but there are also stories of redemption. And, I just want to let you know that the moment you say yes to Jesus, you absolutely belong to His family. And God takes that same love, all the benefits that come with being a part of His family, and He applies them right directly to you. And I think that's pretty darn cool. Because you think about in life, I think about, I had a really strong family where they were always there for me. When I messed up, they were always there for me. They may not have agreed with everything I've done, but they were there for me and to show me their love. And there's no better place to be than a part of a family that is like that. And that's what Jesus extends to us. And you think about it, I mean, the one decision you make can affect so many people and so many destinies, hundreds of people forever. I think of Diana Lopez. Anyone here heard of Diana Lopez? No? Didn't think so. All right, so Diana, she was this person that had a whole bunch of problems, right? She had a lot of problems that she needed to be redeemed from, all right? And just like Jesus' family. She has all of these issues, and she's struggling through life, and she meets this person who's studying the Bible, and she's sold out. Like she studies the Bible with this person about a year, gives her life to Christ during that year, and she decides to get baptized. She was so sold out that she decided to be a Bible worker. And so she decided to be a Bible worker, and she was in Michigan. She met this one girl named Jackie. And Diana, studying the Bible with Jackie. Jackie is my sister's friend, Jennifer. And so Jackie introduces Jennifer to Diana. And then my sister, Jennifer, introduces me to Diana. And then my sister's baptized, Jackie's baptized, and I'm baptized, all because of the decision that Diana made in order to take the Bible studies and to turn her life over to God and to submit to His will. And so, God has a way of orchestrating things in this, and one decision you make affects so many people's for all of eternity. And so tonight I want to invite you, to be redeemed, from the issues that you have. I want to invite you to make the decision that Diana made a long time ago, to surrender her life to Christ and to be a part of that family. And I don't know where you're at in kind of your walk with Christ. I don't know, maybe you've just started coming to this series and maybe you want more information, about the church or whatever the case is. But I want to invite you, to be a part of God's family tonight. I want to invite you to be part of a community that has your back. I want to invite you to be a part of a family that, hey, we're dysfunctional at times, but hey, we extend the same grace to you that God extends to us. And so I want to invite you to be a part of God's family. There are many stories throughout the Bible of family dysfunction, but yet even in the midst of it, even in the midst of their problems, they may have not been perfect, but they have been perfectly loved. We're going to be passing out decision cards tonight to you. And so I don't know, like I said, I don't know where you're at in your walk, but I don't want you to leave here without having the invitation to be part of a family, to be a part of the family of God. And so if that applies to you, go ahead and check that box. If you want to accept Jesus as your Savior, surrender your life to Him like Diana did so many years ago, and kind of see how God works down the road, go ahead and check that box as well. I don't know where you're at, but I just pray that as the Holy Spirit has been speaking to your heart this evening, that you heed that call and that you listen and follow His leading in your life.